there's an awareness within me that witnesses my humanness, and that I would call my spiritual self, even my soul. I never, ever had a relationship with that part of me before. And as I discovered that and strengthened that, that is my safe harbor every single day now. It's, if I'm feeling anxious or overwhelmed or worried, I only have to put my hand on my heart and breathe and remember the truth of who I am.
Welcome to Zestful Aging, where I speak with influencers from all over the world who are contributing to the common good in all kinds of interesting ways. Contributing to the common good in even the smallest of ways is one of the scientifically proven ways we can age with vitality and deep contentment. I'm your host, Nicole Christina, psychotherapist and fellow Zestful Ager. My goal is to share optimism about aging and introduce you to guests who will inspire you to live with zest. And to find out more about this podcast, my web courses, and my book, Not Just Chatting, How to Become a Master Podcast Interviewer, hop on over to zestfulaging.com. And while you're there, you can sign up for my weekly email newsletter, The Insider, where you will get behind-the-scenes looks at upcoming episodes and other fun tidbits. If you love the podcast, I'd be grateful if you shared it with your friends. And our music is courtesy of Judy Banker. Find out more at judybanker.com. Well, we have a fantastic interview for you today. By now, we've all heard the term self-love. But what is it really? Is it treating yourself to a mani-pedi, buying an expensive handbag? It turns out that true self-love is more in line with self-compassion, which has been proven to help heal depression, anxiety, and trauma. My interview with one of the founders of the self-compassion movement, Kristin Neff, is well worth a listen. As a psychotherapist, I found that cultivating self-love is a truly powerful way to create inner peace and freedom. And I'm so into it that I'm taking a course about how to integrate these skills in my psychotherapy practice. Today, we're going to speak with Katie Phillips, who transformed her own very painful life circumstances using self-love. Katie is the founder of the School of Self-Love, and she's a women's empowerment master coach, love and dating mentor, and the author of The Self-Love Affair, a woman's guide to a daring and mighty life. Her focus is helping midlife women create a new kind of life which helps them answer the question, what do you want now? Welcome to the show, Katie.
Hey, Nicole. Thank you so much for having me.
I'm so excited to talk to you. You really know from what you say. You have a history that I think many people would really appreciate as very traumatic, very painful. And yet here you are. And it sounds like what you've done is really figured out a way to transform your pain with self-love. Can you talk a little bit about that process?
Yeah, we teach what we need to learn, don't we, Nicole? And I really believe that those of us who are called to teach, to guide others, to coach as I do, where I really believe that from a spiritual perspective, we're given opportunities and experiences in our life to go perhaps deeper into our own healing than perhaps a lot of people ever have to, so that we're in the position to be able to teach and coach and guide others. I really want to be clear, I had a really beautiful childhood. I was a very privileged girl to grow up on the northern beaches of Sydney. And I thought I had the perfect family up until I was about 16 when things began to unravel. And it turned out that, my parents were deeply codependent. My dad had addiction issues, very specifically with alcohol. My mom was suffering depression and anxiety, and she actually ended up taking her own life when I was 22. So from the age of sort of 16 to 22, a lot very quickly unraveled. And I came to see that my parents were masters at keeping up appearances and smiling and pretending like everything was okay when actually it was everything other than. And they had some difficult emotional pieces to deal with. And without going into all of the detail, we all of us, we learn from our parents, don't we? We learn from the people around us who influence us. And I received a lot of conditioning and deep programming around how to show up in the world from them. Mm-hmm. So said with so much love, there's no blame, but I learned how to have a relationship being codependent. I learned codependency. I learned people pleasing. I learned how to not address my emotional issues and instead cover them up by avoidance tactics, like overworking, like drinking, like binging on Netflix.
And were you the only child?
No, Katie? I have a sister she's 13 months younger than me, and we're incredibly close, almost twin-like, even though there's that year between us. And we had different experiences of our childhood. How it affected me differed to how it affected my sister. Interestingly, we've both come out as women's empowerment coaches, though.
So, was it helpful? I mean, did you support one another through this pain, or did you feel more like you were on your own trying to figure this out?
I think, to be honest, I genuinely don't think we were fully aware of the pain and what was going on until Mum died. Mm-hmm. So while, she attempted suicide when I was 17, so my sister would have been 16, and that was really difficult. And there was a lot of really difficult stuff going on for several years. But it's funny how you don't know what you don't know. And we normalized so much that there was so much going on in our family that we normalized. And it wasn't until Mum died that we really...
You couldn't deny it any longer.
You couldn't deny it. And it was at that point that we absolutely had each other's back, and we have done since. We are the closest of friends, and we talk deeply about our childhood and experiences that brought us to a place of both of us doing very, very deep healing work, which invited us both to learn how to love ourselves. Mm-hmm. And
was that important part of your healing, is having your sister there to do it along with you?
Well, now it is, but in the beginning, I started my journey before her. Mm. So it was, and by the way, I live in the UK, she's in Australia. So for 21 years, we actually haven't lived in the same country. So we're very close, albeit from a distance. And so we've been journeying on our own, but we check in with each other very regularly, if not daily. And we're very, very, very much there for each other, yes. But we have very different experiences, and we're healing different things with different perspectives, because we were, me as the eldest child felt different responsibilities than she did as the younger child. And we both carry wounding from that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but we were both called to self-love in different ways. And for both of us, self-love has been an invitation into deeply knowing ourselves, having deep kindness and compassion for ourselves, understanding what our traumas and triggers and wounding have been, and learning ways of overcoming that so that we can live the life we really feel like we're meant to live,
Do you remember when you started considering that self-love was an option? Because that's not something that is natural for many women. In fact, working with my therapy clients, they can really struggle with the concept and where to begin. Do you remember when you said, I need to try something different?
I remember the moment vividly. It was an absolute moment of pure clarity when I had a day. I was literally on the floor with anxiety and feeling like I couldn't take another step forward. My son was 3, I think, at the time. He was in nursery that day. And I went to my bedroom, I closed the curtains, I closed the door, I got into bed, I took Valium, and I genuinely didn't want to come out of that room ever again. And it was a horrible, horrible, painful moment. But I realized in that moment, that's exactly what my mum did the day she died. So I had just broken up with a boyfriend and I was in his house and I had days to sort myself out and get out of there and find somewhere else to live. And at this point, I didn't have anywhere to go and I didn't have a car. And at that moment, I didn't have a job. I didn't have any money in the bank and I felt utterly destitute with a 3-year-old.
Oh my goodness, true crisis.
It was a proper, it was that proper rock bottom moment. But I realized when I was in that bedroom feeling the way I was feeling that I had unconsciously repeated my mum's patterns of behavior, because the day my mum died, she had just broken up with her boyfriend. She didn't know where she was going to go. She wasn't working at that point either, and she was 49, so I was a bit younger. I was in my late 30s when I had this experience, but she was 49, and thinking like, I don't know where to begin, and I don't know what to do, and she took her own life in that moment. And I'd spent a solid decade doing everything in my power to not be like mum. To not that she was a beautiful woman. I wanted to replicate all her beautiful qualities, but I didn't want to end up depressed, anxious, and suicidal. Like I was, and the harder I tried, I tried so hard to not end up like her. And yet there I found myself on that bedroom floor, feeling the way I felt, wanting the world to go away. And I realized that I was a product of my conditioning. Like I realized that I was a puppet, and unconsciously I had ended up exactly where I didn't want to be. I've come to understand that what we resist persists. And the more I tried to not be like her, actually I was creating that experience, because I was operating in the world in reaction to my wounding rather than owning my pain and healing my pain so that I could actually show up differently in the world.
And being with yourself, keeping yourself company in a sense in your pain rather than trying to avoid and escape it, because it was so awful.
It was. And I definitely didn't have the language in my head of, okay, Katie, it's time to learn to love yourself. That right. Wasn't the language. The language, what went off in my brain was, gosh, you have become your mum. No matter how you tried, you've ended up in exactly the same situation as she did the day she died. There's something going on here. You don't understand how this has happened, but it's clear that you've learned to do life one way and you have to learn to do life a different way. What does that way look like? And I had absolutely no clue where to begin, but I was incredibly determined to find a way because I had that young child. And I was very, very motivated to not put him in a similar situation to, what happened with me and my mum. So I got out of bed and I went and picked him up from nursery and I carried on that day. And the journey began with self-care because I didn't know what else to do. I just knew that I needed to nurture myself and take care of my physical body. So all I knew to do was to have a nice bath in the evening and light some candles and go for a walk and eat
Be nice
healthier,
to yourself.
Just be a little kinder to myself. And that's honestly where it began.
Because it's not like you were a psychotherapist or in the field. You were doing international events.
Yeah.
Am I right about that? So you weren't surrounded by all of this talk and
no. And that's the irony, Nicole, because so there I was a corporate girl. And yes, I'd had some therapy, especially after my mum died. I had a little bit of therapy, not much. I had a little bit of therapy towards the end of the relationship with my son's father before that ended. But I was very new to the world of personal development. I did not have a spiritual relationship or connection with myself. I'd actually rejected the church probably around the time my mum died. I was kind of just going through the motions, being a good corporate girl and smiling and keeping up appearances. And to everybody else, I definitely looked like I had this wonderful, successful life. But the way I felt on the inside was a completely different story. And
you had no choice. It's like you ran out of options. And it reminds me of the story Kristen Neff talks about in grad school after a horrible, in the midst of a horrible divorce, just saying, I can't keep going like this. What else is out there?
Yeah.
Really, as you say, hitting bottom and saying, I've got to figure something out because this is not sustainable. I don't want to live if living looks like this.
That's right. That's right. And I was fast tracking to that space of not wanting to be living anymore, which terrified me. Yeah, it was terrifying. So how do we find a way forward? How was it that I came to understand that my work was to love myself? I'm a big believer that for all of us, wherever we begin, as soon as we make that decision that no matter what, I'm going to figure out a different way, that life shows us that different way. Mm-hmm. And for me, that's why nobody can tell anybody the step-by-step process of their own recovery, of their own healing and transformation. We can have guides along the way, but you will find your own process. And for me, it was, beautifully, life guided me to a guided meditation. It would guide me to a book. It then guided me to another therapist. It guided me to a coach. It guided me to the Hoffman process. I don't know if you've heard of it.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, at the time, it was a 7-day intensive experience with a group of about 30 people. And it was, I had experienced a huge spiritual awakening while doing the Hoffman process. And it introduced me to this concept of self-love. And it introduced me to concepts such as what you think is what you are creating in your life, and how you feel is a reflection of what you're thinking, and that we can have the power to change our thoughts through understanding where they've come from often going right back in time to childhood experiences where we made certain things mean something about ourselves, our lovability, our enoughness, and so on. It was a beautiful journey of inner child healing, actually, the Hoffman process. And, and I was guided to all sorts of different modalities and tools that had me awaken to the fact that I can be in charge of what I think and how I feel and what I experience in the world. And I never, ever set out to become a teacher and a coach in the personal development space, to write a book, to create my own series of guided meditation albums. Honestly, it still pinched me to realize that this is where I've come to. But, I really believe life threw all sorts of curveballs my way so that I could do this work. And I could do it from a place of having really been there, done it, got the T-shirt,
You're not just talking the talk.
I've been in the trenches, baby.
You've been in the trenches.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone. If you think decluttering could help you feel better and you could use a little assistance with that, check out the online course I've developed with professional organizer and designer Carrie Luderin. It's called Too Much Stuff. And too much stuff is different from other courses or articles or guidance you may have used up. We give you clear steps to deal with the clutter and the tools to help you face the overwhelming feelings and the emotions that come up when we're going through our clutter. And a lot of those emotions are just feeling anxious or guilty or just basically flooded with a lot of different confusing feelings. The course is really practical. It's realistic. The lessons are short and punchy, and they're really manageable. We're not trying to set you up for some long exploratory, super in-depth, burdensome experience. We want something really helpful for you right now. We all need help with our anxiety. So being surrounded by more calm and less chaos can really help. So now's a good time to clear out the clutter so we can focus on what's really important in our lives. So find out more at zestfulaging.com. You'll see more about this under the web courses tab. If you have any questions, just shoot me an email at zestfulaging@gmail.com. Thanks so much. What were some of the signs that things were transforming for you? What started to shift?
One of the most profound pieces of all of this for me was my connection with what I call my true self. So not my ego, not my titles, not my name, Katie Phillips. Just this sense of there's an awareness within me that witnesses my humanness, and that I would call my spiritual self, even my soul. I never, ever had a relationship with that part of me before. And as I discovered that and strengthened that, that is my safe harbor every single day now. If I'm feeling anxious or overwhelmed or worried, I only have to put my hand on my heart and breathe and remember the truth of who I am. And all of the stuff and the noise and the to-do lists and the challenges of life just fall away, because in that moment I'm present and connected to the truth of me. And I feel safe there, and I can trust that space. And I never, ever had that depth of that safety and trust just to sit here in my chair now and know that I'm enough and I'm okay. Like I never, ever had that before, and I've never let it go. And I've attained it, and you can't lose it. It's something to be, it's something to be nurtured daily for sure, and I tap into it as a regular practice. But without that connection to my true self, when I'm not connected to my true self, I find life really quite challenging. But life feels a lot easier when I come from that place.
What does that look like in your relationships when you're truly sort of self-aware and you have a safe harbor, which is your own, I guess we could call it your own essence? How does that change relationships?
It just allows me to show up in a relationship being fully who I am. When I tap into that part of me, that safe place that feels like home, I'm not cutting off from my partner. I'm not cutting off from the people around me. All I'm doing is allowing myself, my energy to come from that deep place. So they're getting the best of me. Like it's like the more I can relate to that part of me, the more intimacy I have with that part of me. And it's a very vulnerable experience in a beautiful way. Like it's the most raw and honest experience of myself. As I can do that for myself, people that I'm in relationship with can feel that from me. So they're getting the truest, most authentic, aligned version of me, and which feels good for them because there's no wall there. Like when my walls come up, I'm obviously not connected to my true self. When my walls and barriers come up,
I would call it defenses
yeah,
and
exactly.
practice. Yeah.
Exactly. When my defenses come up, when I'm pushing away, I know myself well enough to know, okay, I'm coming from a place of ego. I'm coming from a place of fear. I'm coming from a place of pain and wounding. And that's okay. That's the human experience. I have my tools and techniques to move into awareness around that. You know, what is that about? How can I, how can I move with that? But if you're asking me, how does my relationship with my true self affect my relationships with others, it allows them to experience me from a place of love and compassion and peace, and it's a beautiful place to come from, and it allows me to be more vulnerable with them as well, because I'm being vulnerable with myself.
And yet you feel safe, right? I mean, that's the thing it's not, I guess, not a paradox, but the truth is that you're vulnerable, but you know that you're safe and solid.
Yeah. I feel like when I'm coming from that place, I'm able to be fully who I am with the person I'm with in that moment. So I can speak my truth because I'm safe in who I am to say what I think and feel. I'm safe in who I am to ask for what I want. And if they don't like it, or they reject it, or they judge me for it, and that's the greatest human fear, isn't it, of being rejected for the truth of who we are, for speaking our truth and having our needs met. If I'm rejected, that's okay. I've got me. I'm okay. And that's their journey. I can mind my own business. My business is to take care of me first and foremost, and they will receive the best version of me as a result. And if they don't like that version of me, well,
you can tolerate that everybody is not going to love you and think you're, that's so tricky. And that's something that, my clients, many of them struggle with. Well, what if they don't like me?
Yeah. And so do I. I mean, I'm human, like sure. I'm not some kind of so evolved, enlightened person that I don't feel the pain of being human, and I want to be accepted. I want to be loved. I want to be liked. I don't like the feeling of rejection, and I'm okay. Like I'm okay if I can notice that my ego, my humanness is upset, but fundamentally I'm okay. And that's the difference between my mum and I. We were, my poor mum, she didn't have that foundational sense of self. So when it all went wrong for her, another relationship had ended. She found herself she found herself in a place that felt so uncertain. She couldn't retreat to the safety of her own inner self. She didn't have that to fall back on. And really that's been like her suffering in that has been a gift to me, and a gift that I can pass on to, thousands of women now in the work I've been doing. It's, bless her heart. I really feel like that she's, her life was sacrificed so that so many others could learn to deepen their relationship with themselves and love themselves, so they could have a different experience of themselves and life.
It sounds like you have deep compassion for your mom's suffering.
Oh my goodness. I mean, where do I even begin? Yes, immense compassion, immense gratitude. I miss her. I mean, it's 20, I don't know how many years has gone by now. I've lost track, 25. It's, and I miss her deeply all the time. And I wish I could have a cup of tea and a scone with her, She was an amazing, amazing woman, and she was so loved by so many, and she was a fantastic mother, and she did her best. And she suffered in silence. At her funeral, the majority of people there said, I didn't know she was suffering. Nobody knew. They just knew that they thought she was just as happy. But behind closed doors, she was suffering. And so many people are.
Yes. And in that generation, right, you didn't talk about it.
No. No, we didn't. And I've come to understand now with my own perimenopause journey and so on, I've come to understand that actually what would have been going on for mum, on top of a number of life circumstances that had her feeling depressed, she was also in perimenopause. And I feel strongly that she was suffering depression and anxiety as a result of hormonal imbalances that were being treated with antidepressants. So, so yeah, there's a whole other piece there that was going on for her, which I have huge compassion for.
I think many women are listening to this and saying, wow, that sounds wonderful. I would love to have a different relationship with myself. I'm aware that, I'm too hard on myself, but wow, I don't even know where to start. What would you say to them?
We start with a bit like, well, exactly like my situation on that bedroom floor that day. It starts with a decision that I desire to get to know myself. And there's a prayer that could go with that. So the prayer that I would use, and prayer might not be your language, it might be mantra or just a statement, but the sentence is, even though I don't know where to start, I'm willing to be shown. And it's just opening yourself up energetically to being guided. You're just setting the intention, and that statement fueled with the emotion of that, the sort of unapologetic emotion of no matter what, I am so ready to find a different way. I'm so ready. I'm so done with feeling the way I do. I'm done with not feeling enough. I'm done with dysfunction in my relationships. I'm done with whatever the piece is. I'm done with feeling less than. And I want to be the woman I came here to be. Like that emotion, even though I don't know where to begin, I'm willing to be shown. And that's, while I didn't use that statement back then on the bedroom floor, I didn't know I was doing this, but I set the intention. I'm going to figure out a way. I don't know how, but I'll get up off the floor and see what happens. That's sort of where I was at.
There's a surrender about that too, that I'm not going to engineer this. I'm not going to make this work. I'm going to be open and allow.
Absolutely. And you just cannot engineer your healing. In fact, who do you think you are to think you could, right? Because ultimately, I mean, from my experience, the deepest and most profound healing and transformation I've had and that I've witnessed in my clients has been a deep heart healing. It's a spiritual healing. There's an actual sort of spiritual shift. It becomes cellular. And when you experience healing like that, you're not doing the healing. You're not thinking your way through a healing. You're not following some step-by-step process. It feels miraculous and magical because it's something, it's gosh, it's hard to even put into words, but I really believe that something greater than us sort of aligns with our spiritual essence and creates a healing. It happens for us.
My experience with using self-compassion, employing self-compassion, is you feel it down to your toes.
Yeah.
It's not just, oh, I'm no longer grouchy or I feel less anxious. It's like, I love your expression, it's cellular.
Yeah, it is. But your humanness, you're going to get grouchy, right? And in that moment of I'm grouchy, self-compassion, self-love invites you to love the part of you that's grouchy. Because I am grouchy is, you're not grouchy. You fundamentally, you are not grouchy. You're feeling grouchy. There's a part of you that's feeling grouchy. Can you love that part of you? It doesn't define, your grouchiness doesn't define you. That would be the shame statement, I am grouchy. No, can I love the part of me that's grouchy? Can I love the part of me that doesn't feel good enough right now? Can I love that part of me?
Those are great questions, the curious questions to start with. instead of saying, what's wrong with me? I'm ungrateful.
Yeah.
I'm overreacting. I'm oversensitive. All of this.
Yeah.
The questions you're proposing, can I be with it? Can I say, yep, that's where I am right now. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And maybe some self-inquiry, as we get to know ourselves more and more, we come to understand maybe where the grouchiness has come from.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what are you defending yourself against? And what is the vulnerable piece that you're trying to protect? And did that originate when you were 4 years old? Is there, you can start to draw the lines and understand. And with that self-awareness, you can have compassion for that part of you that's reacting in that way in that moment. But it's not who you are. It's just a wounded part of you, perhaps.
Katie, can you tell our audience where to find out more about your work?
Sure. So we're everywhere as the School of Self.love. So that's our website, it's our Instagram at the School of Self.love. We're on Facebook. We're everywhere. You'll find us.
And you have a book.
Yeah. The book is that's available on Amazon. It's called The Self-Love Affair: A Woman's Guide to a Daring and Mighty Life. And it's a workbook in its own right. And to take it a step further, when you were asking me, where does a woman begin? That book is actually the work that I went through. So, and I've laid it out in a step-by-step. Of course, every woman is going to have her own experience of it, but it takes you through creating self-awareness. It takes you through forgiveness processes and healing your inner child, beginning to grasp what it is you want to create for your life, because so many women, especially in midlife, aren't clear on what they want, and how to then go for it. So it's a real journey of self-awareness, healing, and then moving you forward into creating the kind of life that you want to live.
Such an important conversation, one that we will be continuing. And I so appreciate your work and your time, Katie, and your energy.
Oh, thank you so much.
It was delightful to speak with you, and I'm looking forward to our collaboration.
Well, we have so much more to say on this topic, don't we, Nicole?
We certainly do. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you, and good luck on your continued work.
Thank
you. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us on Zestful Aging. If you like the podcast, please share it with some of your friends. If you think decluttering could help you feel better and you could use a little assistance with that, check out the online course I've developed with professional organizer and designer Carrie Luderin. It's called Too Much Stuff. And Too Much Stuff is different from other courses or articles or guidance you may have used up. We give you clear steps to deal with the clutter and the tools to help you face the overwhelming feelings and the emotions that come up when we're going through our clutter. And a lot of those emotions are just feeling anxious or guilty or just basically flooded with a lot of different confusing feelings. The course is really practical. It's realistic. The lessons are short and punchy, and they're really manageable. We're not trying to set you up for some long exploratory, super in-depth, burdensome experience. We want something really helpful for you right now. We all need help with our anxiety. So being surrounded by more calm and less chaos can really help. So now's a good time to clear out the clutter so we can focus on what's really important in our lives. So find out more at zestfulaging.com. You'll see more about this under the web courses tab. If you have any questions, just shoot me an email at zestfulaging@gmail.com. Thanks so much. And stay tuned next week for another interview with a fascinating and inspiring guest.